Hey, everybody. Happy Wednesday. It's Barry. Hey, are we live? I think that we are. Let's see. All right. Welcome. I'm so happy to be with you on this beautiful Wednesday. I'm here in Miami and it is pretty chilly here. We're definitely not used to it. But today we're going to have a conversation about warmth, about getting past childhood messages. So before we get started, I want to welcome everyone, especially those of you who are new in our community. So for those who don't know me, I want to take a moment to introduce myself. I'm Bari Lyman, and I'm the creator of a transformational dating method called Meet to Marry, Get Unstuck in Love. And what we do is we help you to break through unconscious dating and relationship patterns so that you could summon your soulmate. We talk a lot about summoning your soulmate, which really means the ability to not just wait and see what happens, but it's the ability to bring forth that person that you really want the most. Right. So who's fired up about that? About really being able to have what you want. I can say for me, as we start to kick it off, is that I had a lot of childhood trauma, and that definitely defines me and my ability to know how to bring in love and how to actually recognize love. So that was pretty foreign to me. But the good news is that it can be changed and transcended. So who's excited? Let me see who's here with us today. Okay. So if you're here and you want to just really be in this experience, I invite you to do that. It's a heavy topic. It's a really heavy topic because sometimes uh, we start out feeling really stuck about love, and there's a very big dichotomy. So when it comes to the past and your childhood, in a word, what comes up for you? What comes up for you? Do you feel free? Do you feel stuck? Do you feel confused? Do you ever notice a pattern that you might be in? Do you ever see um, a familiarity that comes from how you felt in your childhood? And even though it's been 30, 40, 50, or even 60 years, you may notice how you feel. So I want to start off by telling you a story, actually, of two women. And these are not their real names, because just for privacy's sake. But one client, this is her story. Her name is Sharon. Again, that's not her real name. And when she was growing up, she had also a lot of trauma. Her father was not a nice guy. He was an alcoholic, and her mother was, very stuck herself emotionally in this relationship. And Sharon grew up really stuck, feeling abused and neglected. I would say that her needs were never really met, and it was very hard, and that really caused her to question her value. It really took a big toll on her true self-worth. And so as an adult, she got out of, she grew up, she went to college, and she decided she was going to be really successful. And she became really successful in the corporate world. And she got married. And she married a man that she thought was going to be a great partner, right? Seemed really different than her father. But sadly, that husband turns out to, while he was socioeconomically different, he was just like her father, just like her father. And so she had three children and lived through even more trauma in her marriage. Now, what's really important to know about her is that she's strong, and all through the years she was, working on herself, really working on herself in therapy, doing all kinds of personal growth things. But those things were really good for coping, but she was really stuck, and she stayed in that marriage for the sake of her kids. Okay. And that is when she came to work with me, and I'll tell you what happened there. Now, the other story I want to tell you about, her name is Kathy. And Kathy also, she had a very similar childhood with quite a bit of trauma. But the trauma was different. It was more like, instead of being physically abused, it was more like she was getting things, education, but her parents were not warm. They were not loving. They were not cuddly. They were not. It was really all about looking good on the outside and getting things done. And so, hi, Andrea. So glad you're with us. Andrea will be able to relate to this. And anyway, so she grew up like not getting the love that she needed. It was all about achievement. And when that happens, you learn how to, um, earn love, earn love. And it's really hard. So, but the good news, the good news is that there is a way out of it. Now, both women felt extremely self-aware. Like I said, both Kathy and Sharon, they both worked on themselves. They both went to therapy. They both became mothers. They put their children first, but they struggled in relationships. So there came a point when they both realized they wanted a new way. They didn't want to struggle anymore in relationships. And when they dated, they started to notice, geez, because they got divorced, why do I still meet the same kinds of man? And so that is the key to our stories of transformation, is even though both women um, left these marriages, why is it that their dating was still the same? Why is it that even though they'd been to therapy and they did a lot of self-growth, right? Because when I met Sharon, she told me how loving she is, what a good person she is, how self-aware she is, but she just couldn't figure out why she couldn't meet the right man. Okay. So you ever notice when you meet certain people that they say that they're very open and loving, but there's something not quite right there. And it's that's not quite right that speaks to what we're going to talk about today, which is alignment. Alignment. So when we have had childhood trauma, what happens is we get a break in our own understanding of ourselves. Can anyone here relate to that? Where you've had trauma and you've tried to work on it for years and years, right? What kinds of things, guys, have you done to try and fix your trauma, right? I know for me, I tried energy healing, I did therapy on and off from 12 years old, and none of it did it because it didn't change the dynamic that was really keeping me stuck. Who can see that? Who can see that? So if we aren't making the real changes, then we uh, we don't uh, we don't get to have love. So here are some things that happen when we have unresolved trauma. First of all, you could be extremely self-aware, and again, it doesn't wipe away childhood trauma. And the reason it doesn't wipe away childhood trauma is that it's focused on short-term, uh, short-term relief, really relief. You might do energy healing, which feels nice, but I know for me, when I came out of energy healing, I didn't feel better, like really about myself. Can you relate to that? Like it felt good then, like, okay, maybe some energy has moved around, but my cognitive understanding of myself was still stuck in the past. So that's the first message, is that being self-aware is about knowing things about yourself, but it's not the same as fixing them. Okay. Uh, Number two is that when we've had childhood trauma where we were criticized, where we felt neglected, where we felt abandoned, we just lose our sense of wholeness. And for most people that I work with, that wholeness, if we don't have that, then it's just a concept. And then we're carrying around stories like, oh, I'm not good enough, or I don't deserve love, or who would want me, right? And that goes way, way back. I work with women of all ages and men. And you could be in your 60s or even 70s and still feel that way. And when we feel not worthy or not enough because our self-worth isn't there, that, my friends, is a real vibration. These are feelings, and this is a vibration. So even if you're gorgeous and you are very successful at your career, or you're a good person and a spiritual person, that's all great. But as long as it's unresolved around your childhood trauma of feeling not worthy, what kind of people we attract when we go out to date. You go online, you think, oh, I'm all confident. But unfortunately, our feelings of not enough or abandoned, what happens is then we attract dates who make us feel unworthy. It's like a mirror. It's like a mirror. Can you guys see that? Have you experienced that? You're wondering, why is it that I still attract wrong people? Why is it? So you can, number two is you can tell yourself all day long that I am lovable and I am worthy. I used to do this. But guess what? If at the root of it, it's not resolved, and there's a part of you that is so separate in terms of your identity, then we're attracting what we don't want. And the worst part of that is, guess what? What do you think the worst part of that is? Knowing that there's something off, but you're dating and you're trying. What do you think the worst part of that is? Well, the worst part of that is that you're just wasting precious time. It's like there's an escalator going down, but you're trying to go up. And I wouldn't want that for you, because your life is too precious and you're too valuable to be doing that, wasting time. And the third piece of that is, um, when we've had trauma related to not seeing healthy love modeled, like how many of you have parents that were either divorced or had marriages that were like not connected, where they were not loving partners, or where there were problems, fighting, financial problems, things like that, or fathers that often are not present and or they're not present in your life the way you need him to be. Sometimes a father could be there, but if he's not warm and seeing you and loving you the way you really need, the way you needed, well, guess what? We grow up, and you know what? We don't know men. We don't we don't have a real understanding of of healthy receiving of love, where your father would be totally present to you and your mother would be receiving sweet love too. Or sometimes it's the flip side, where the father is, maybe loving, but maybe on the weaker side, or maybe a mother is more domineering. There are many different scenarios around childhood trauma, but for the most part, when we're not getting our emotional needs met, we can just grow up chronologically. We could do all these things. We could say, I am so lovable and I'm so open. But in my experience, you're not. Back to the story of Kathy, who told me, oh, she'd done spiritual healing and energy healing and yoga. And she's talking about how open she is, but her heart from her neck down, she's like a wall, like like this energetic wall of self-protection. And that, my friends, is a real disconnect. And it's nobody's fault that we do this. We do this because we're walking around still wounded. Oh my God. I spoke with a client who said she used to get the worst advice from her sister, who's a therapist. And she would date men that would be awful, men who would like ghost her or not be like she would know that they were not loving or into her, but because of her own low self-worth, right? If our self-worth is, I'm really not worthy, she would continue to date them. And she would take the bad advice that her therapist sister would say to her, like, oh, don't worry, he'll be back. Oh my God, who wants him back? Right. So my point is that from childhood, we hear different messages and stories. Things like if your mom was not in a good marriage, or your father was an alcoholic, or whatever, cold, cheated, not present, always working, your mom may have given you a message that went like this: you don't need a man. You don't need a man. Or you can't trust men. And guess what happens then? You believe that. You start to embody that. And then you don't trust men because your father was so lousy. And so you start to be in that situation. You start to have walls up against men and trusting. Why? Because you don't even know what healthy love actually looks like. And if you don't know what it looks like, then how are you going to find it? See that? So for those of you just joining us, my name is Bari Lyman, and I'm the creator of a transformational dating method that helps you to uh, permanently remove unconscious dating and relationship patterns like what we're talking about. I don't need a man. You start to have the messages like, I don't deserve, I don't deserve love. You start to feel like you're not enough. Can you relate to that? I think we all can. I think we all can. So, acting as if or looking back and analyzing the past just makes you intellectually smarter. Trying to get temporary relief isn't what it's isn't working. So what does work? What does work is this changing the paradigm. Someone said to me yesterday, Bari, I've tried working on my childhood trauma forever. Someone's 66. Beautiful. But she said, I just don't have the self-worth. So what do? Well, you get a new plan and a new way that will allow you to have what is actually needed, which is transformation, a moving away from the past that happened 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 years ago, but that's still impacting you today because the only solutions that people mostly have are band-aids. I'm worthy, I'm worthy. But deep down, you don't believe it. And you gather evidence from the past that I haven't seen it, I don't believe it, I can't have it, but you still want it, but you can't touch it. So instead of going up, trying to go up on a down escalator, or just analyzing why your father was not present, why your mother was critical, instead that doesn't change anything. So what needs to happen is you need an embodiment, a learning, a new understanding of after removing the trauma with a different perspective rooted in reason, not just an analytical analysis, but a true transformation where the past is gone. You are no longer walking around like a wounded little girl or little boy because you have a new, healthy, healed perspective around the past. You see, as human beings, we're so conditioned. We're like machines. And when we've been conditioned for self-protection for 20, 30, 40, 50 years between our childhoods and our marriages and the other dating experiences that we've had that were so negative, we need to need to have a new understanding of ourselves. And we need to understand, what are my real needs? My needs are never met. So I need to understand those needs. And I need to understand how to receive love that feels so risky and scary and repelling. How do I become a person that has high self-worth and an embodiment for receiving love? Because again, what would that mean for you to really be on the other side of that instead of questioning, am I worthy? Do I deserve? What would that mean to you to really be able to be on the other side? How amazing would that be to be able to have a real partner that is unlike anyone you've ever dated, to have a relationship with yourself and with a partner that would be enviable? How great would that be? Put that in the comments about how exciting that would be. Well, if you're excited about that, I want you to know that this is the kind of work that we do every single day, every day. So most people think, oh, I just need to meet more high quality people. But that's not true because when we're in this unresolved trauma that's still, from the past, it's impacting us today, then we're not even in a reality to bring in high quality people because we don't even know what that is. We're not a vessel for it, and we don't even trust it, and we don't even know what we need. So, I would like to invite you to join me for a special workshop for high achieving people, singles like yourself, who really want to get to the root of it and transform it with a real strategic plan. And it's happening on February 11th through the 18th. It's going to happen every day, training and exercises and real results to really have you understand what I'm talking about so that you can summon your soulmate. Because I want you to know that extraordinary men, my audience, you're mostly women, but I know there are also men here with us. But I want you to know that extraordinary men and extraordinary women do exist. And now is your time. So if you would like to join me in that experience where we're going to really go deep into this, uh, we're going to put the link in. You can just register or DM us. My team is here and we will send you the link to register, or just go to meettomarry.com/soulmates with an S, soulmates. So if you're the kind of person, people ask, what do you mean by a high achiever? Well, a high achiever likes to get things done, doesn't want to waste time, wants to really make things happen. And I want you to know that you deserve to have the best and you deserve to condense time, because this is something that is so entrenched that it doesn't just happen when it happens. I know that you want it to be that way. Oh, when the timing is right, it'll just happen. But as you're seeing from today, childhood trauma that is unresolved in the way that I am talking about, that leads to an embodiment, repels love and really prevents us from receiving healthy love. Even if you want it, even if you're a good person, because of this dynamic, this energetic, real fear, real self-protection, real stories that hold us back. So if you enjoyed this, join me on February 11th. It's going to be amazing. It's going to be absolutely amazing. You're going to learn so much because you really do you deserve to have your love. And if you enjoyed this, please tell your friends. You can invite them every week at this time. I'm going live with another topic, and they deserve it too. They deserve to have the best information and transformation to find love. Okay, guys, so thank you so much for joining me. Let me know what you think and how this has impacted you, this conversation, and we'll drop the link in the chat, and I will see you next week and on February 11th. See you guys soon.